Hello, once again, and welcome to the Management Channel. Today is going to be a little bit of a longer one. This one's called Organizational Structure Design. What we want to accomplish here is we want to learn the three types of coordination in organizational structures, examine the concepts of span of control, centralization, and formalization, look at the six types of departmentalization, and examine how the external environment affects organizational structure. So let's begin with what is an organization's structure? It's the way in which the organization's resources are organized to effectively achieve their mission. Organizations structure their resources to transform inputs into outputs, and as you can see here in the chart, it goes from raw materials to the final product delivered to the customer. So, what does it refer to? Well, the way the organization positions itself in its setting in relation to its stakeholders, and given the organization's resources, capabilities, and mission. Structure follows strategy. Strategy points to the environments in which the organization will operate. Leaders then decide which structure to apply. An innovation strategy provides unique products or attracting clients who want customization. A cost leadership strategy maximizes productivity in order to offer lower competitive pricing. The designated relationships among resources of the management system are formal in structure. The relationships among organizational resources as outlined by management, which would be your organizational chart. Informal structure, the patterns of relationships that develop due to informal activities of members. A vertical dimensioning is the extent to which an organization uses vertical levels to separate job responsibilities, establishes a pattern of scalar relationships or chain of command, and unity of command is management principle that recommends an individual have only one boss. Span of management is the number of individuals a manager can manage. How many people per manager? Horizontal dimensioning is the extent to which an organization uses lateral subdivisions or specialties within the organization, thus establishing departments, a group of resources established by management to perform a specific organizational task. Departments are broken up by function or task or by product and or service, and in some cases by their geographic areas or where they're at in the globe. So we want to look at coordinating work activities. Informal communication is sharing information on mutual tasks and forming common mental models to synchronize work activities. Good in routine and ambiguous situations allows exchange of information through face-to-face and other media-enriched channels. It's easiest in small firms. In large firms, it's a little bit more difficult. Information technologies have leveraged this coordinating mechanism through various electronic means within the larger organizations. However, larger organizations also apply informal communication through one, liaison roles. Employees are expected to communicate and share information with coworkers in other work units. Integrator roles. Employees are now responsible for coordinating a work process by encouraging the others around them to share their information. And concurrent engineering. Cross-functional project team of people from various different functional departments within the organization. Concurrent engineering is an organization of employees from several departments into a cross-functional team temporarily for the purpose of either developing a new product or service, or in some cases, to problem solve and make continuous improvement. Formal hierarchy assigns legitimate power to individuals who use their power to direct work processes and allocate resources. Direct supervision in the chain of command, for example, and it's necessary in most firms because It's just required. Somebody has to be in charge. However, it has problems. Conflicts with employee autonomy and involvement kind of prohibits self directed teams, kind of stifles empowerment a bit too. Standardization involves creating routine patterns of behavior or work output and standardized processes that include job descriptions and procedures of how to do it. Standardized outputs clearly define goals and output measures such as sales targets or quality measurements. Standardized skills, so extensive training, so people acquire precise role behaviors. So the elements of organizational structure are departmentalization, formalization, centralization, and span of control. So what is span of control? Well, it's a number of people directly reporting to the next level. Related to coordination through direct supervision, a narrow span of control would be few people reporting directly to a manager. A wider span of control is possible when other coordinating mechanisms are present with lots of communication, the tasks are routine, and there is low employee interdependence. Wider span of control is possible when other coordinating mechanisms are present, like self directed teams, coordinate through informal communication and specialized knowledge. Tasks are routine, less frequent need for direction from the supervisor, and low employee interdependence. Supervisors will not have to spend as much time resolving conflicts, coaching, or providing feedback. Now there's a tall versus a flat structure. Span of control is interconnected with organizational size, or the number of employees, and the number of layers in the hierarchy. As companies grow, they build a taller hierarchy. They widen their span of control, or they do. Problems with the tall structures: higher overhead costs, more management. Lower quality, less timely information from the external environment, and information is transmitted slowly, or maybe not at all, up the hierarchy. Focus power on managers rather than employees, so it undermines employee empowerment and engagement. Not a good scenario. You want your employees involved. Centralization and decentralization. Centralization is a formal decision making authority held by a small group of people, typically at the top, and decentralization is decision authority and power dispersed downward throughout the organizations. Firms tend to decentralize as they get larger and older. The degree of centralization starts with the centralization of authority. The location of the most activity at the upper levels of the organization, for instance, corporate office. Decentralization is the location of a significant amount of authority in the lower levels of the organization, more at the plant or divisional level. Standardization is solving problems by consistently applying the same rules, procedures, and processes. So there's varying degrees of centralization that can occur at the same time in different parts of the organization. Decentralized marketing decisions to remain responsive to local markets would be one good way of doing decentralization. Centralized production to improve cost efficiencies. So it depends on which direction the organization is going and how they want to structure it. Formalization is basically the degree to which organizations standardize their behavior through rules, procedures, formal training, and the related mechanisms. However, formalization increases as firms get older, larger, and more regulated. The problems are it reduces the flexibility. It discourages organizational learning and creativity. It tends to reduce work efficiency. And it definitely increases job dissatisfaction and work stress. Mechanic, oh boy, Mechanistic structure. An organization structure with a narrow span of control and a high degree of formalization and centralization. Narrow span of control, larger hierarchies of people and specialized roles, so it's quite different in the formalization mode. High degree of task formalization. Many rules and procedures are rigidly defined and given vertical communication. A high degree of centralization gives you limited decision making at lower levels. Mechanistic structures operate better in stable environments because they rely on efficiency and routine daily behaviors. An organic structure is a structure with a wide span of control, little formalization, and decentralized decision making. Low formalization, like fluid tasks, free flowing communication, and they value knowledge. High decentralized decision making work better in rapid changing environments because they are more flexible and responsive to changes. Organizational structure is the vertical and horizontal configuration of departments, authority, and jobs within a company. The organizational process is a collection of activities that transform those inputs or raw materials into outputs that customers value. Departmentalization is a process of subdividing work and workers into separate organizational units responsible for completing particular tasks or duties. I'll leave this here for you for a moment. Please feel free to pause longer if you'd like to read it more in depth. Functional. Departmental organization by functions such as HR, accounting, quality, product operations, and so forth, maybe engineering or design. Product departmentalization is organizing work and workers into separate units responsible for producing particular products or services. Customer departmentalization is organizing your work and workers into separate units responsible for particular kinds of customers. Geographic would be organizing the work and workers into separate units responsible for doing business in particular geographic locations. The matrix. This is a hybrid structure in which two or more forms of departmentalization are used together. Simple. Managers in different parts of the matrix negotiate conflicts and resources directly. Or complex. Managers from different parts of the matrix might report to the same matrix manager who helps them sort out conflicts and problems and removes roadblocks. Department is an organizational unit for which a supervisor has responsibility and authority. Departmentalization is a process of grouping activities and people into distinct organizational units. Division of work by specialization is dividing the work into components and specialized tasks to improve efficiency and output. A formal organization structure is the department's positions, functions, authority, and reporting relationships as defined by the organizational chart. Principle of organizational stability. No organization should become overly dependent on one or more, or several at that point, indispensable individuals. Now, the effects of departmentalization are it specifies how employees and their activities are grouped together, reflected in the organizational chart. There are three functions of departmentalization. One, establish a clear cut chain of command, or the supervisory structure. Creates common mental models, measures of performance required, and it encourages the staff to coordinate through informal communications, members that are typically working near each other. Simple structure, employ only a few people and typically offer only one distinct product or service. Has minimal hierarchy, employees usually report to the owners or one manager. Roles are broadly defined so that they're remaining flexible. And there's informal communication for coordination, and it kind of minimizes any walls between employees. Open communication. Centralized structure, owners provide direct supervision to coordinate tasks. A functional structure organizes employees around specific knowledge or resources. typically centralized to coordinate diverse actions, and most firms have functional structure at some level in the organization or at some time in their history. Divisional structure is where they organize employees around outputs, clients, or geographic areas. Divisional structure, best form, depends on primary source of environmental diversity or uncertainty. For example, product structure if companies sell several types of products and customer preferences and government regulations are similar. It's a geographic structure if customers have different needs across different regions and government regulations differ from one area to another, like from one state to another, for instance. Uh, New York and California, totally going to be different. Globally integrated enterprise work processes and executive functions are distributed around the world through global centers rather than developed in a home country and replicated in satellite countries or regions. Functional heads are geographically distributed, sensitive to both the cultural and market differences of that particular region. The firm's home country is no longer the focus of the business. Fewer geographic regions in a globally integrated enterprise because there's less need for local representation. Clients can purchase online or communicate with businesses in either email, phone, or whatever means necessary technology from anywhere in the world. There's a reduced geographic variation. Consumer preferences are converging around the world. More global clients who demand one global point of purchase. Authority and organizational structures have a line authority, the right to direct others and to require them to conform decisions, policies, rules, and objectives of that line. And then there's the staff authority, the right to provide counsel, advice, support, and service in a person's areas of expertise. Line and staff organizational structures combine the line and staff departments and incorporates line and staff authority. Here again, I'm going to leave this for you to read. When you're creating your organizational chart, you should consider these factors. Take us a few minutes to look at it. Pause if you need to. All right, now let's talk about team based structure. It's built around self directed work teams who are empowered. Teams organized around the work process and typically organic structure, wide span of control because teams operate with minimal supervision. Highly decentralized daily with day to day decisions made by the team members, not so much by management. The benefits are responsive and flexible in turbulent environments. There's lower administration costs, less formal hierarchy. It's quicker and better informed decision making. But the limitations are ongoing need for costly interpersonal skill training. Teamwork may take more time during early stages of team development. Role ambiguity increases employee stress, so make sure each team has a clear defined leader. Problems with supervision role changes, that is, for instance, loss of functional power or unclear career progression. And duplication of resources across teams. Project management structure is a hybrid structure in which regular or functional line and staff departments coexist with project teams made up of people from various different departments. They focus special talents from different departments on a specific project for certain periods of time. They can have problems with direct accountability in that it violates the unity of command principle and schedules employees across several projects. So make sure you don't stifle your employees. Make sure your people on these project teams know which one is a priority. So let's take a look at a project management structure. You'll notice there's a project manager for project A and a manager for project B. And you'll see that there are different departments across here, X, Y, and Z, who all send members to these different projects. So one member may be involved in 2 or 3 different projects at once. Planning the ideal department structure, the ideal arrangement assumes that all required and qualified employees and resources are available. However, in reality, available employees and other resources must be fitted to the structure. Changes can be made to gradually move the department towards this ideal structure. So, when you make your own organizational chart, you'll decide if you're going to be vertical, horizontal, or come up with kind of a hybrid in between. Here we can see 2 different types of organizational charts, both being horizontal, and then there's a vertical. The matrix structure is basically a structure that overlays 2 structures in order to leverage the benefits of both. It's organized around functions such as art, audio, programming, team-based game development projects, whatever. Employees are assigned to a cross-functional team responsible for a specific game project, yet also belong to a permanent functional unit from which they are assigned. Employees who are temporarily assigned to a special or specific project team, but still have a permanent functional unit, is a little bit difficult, and you have to learn to work with this because, first of all, the employee still has their main duties in their department, but now they're also in these other projects. So they may be responsible for anywhere from 1 to 3 different projects at the same time, in addition to their regular daily duties. The benefits of a matrix structure are it uses resources and expertise effectively, good for any fluctuating workloads. It does improve communication, project flexibility, innovation, if it's managed properly. It focuses on employees serving clients or creating products and supports knowledge sharing within a specialty across groups. The solution is best when 2 divisions deserve equal importance. Limitations, as usual, there's a limitation to everything. It increases goal conflict among managers who equally share power and ambiguity related to priorities. Which one's more important? 2 bosses dilute accountability. And again, span of control, there should only be 1 boss. And it also sometimes creates more dysfunctional conflict and stress. A network structure is an alliance of firms creating a product or service. Supporting firms are beehived around a hub or core firm. The emphasis is on core competencies, and you're more likely to form a network structure when technology is changing quickly and production processes are complex. Sometimes you have to outsource to specialists. For example, let's say you are a company making plastic parts for an automotive company. However, the customer wants those parts chromed, and you don't have the ability to chrome parts because it's a very specific science. So you would outsource those products to get chrome dipped and then return them before you send them on to your customer. Alliance of firms creates a product or service. So you can see the core firm in the USA, assembly partner in China, accounting partner USA, product development team in France, and so forth. The benefits of a network structure is it's highly flexible, easy to change alliances, potentially better use of skills and technology within the group, not saddled with non-essential facilities and resources, but again, like everything else, there's limitations, exposed to market forces, risk of higher costs, less control over subcontractors than those in-house. What is the most appropriate organizational structure then? The best structure depends on the external environment. What business are you in and what is your external environment? 4 characteristics of external environments that influence the type of structure you choose. Dynamic versus stable. Dynamic is a high rate of change, novel situations. Organic structures are best. For example, team based network. Stable environments are regular cycles of activity, kind of mechanistic, and those are best when environment is predictable. Complex, there are more elements to consider. It's not just a simple process anymore. Simple environments have fewer things to monitor. Decentralized structures better for complex environments because decisions are pushed down to people with the necessary information to make informed choices. Diverse versus integrated. A diverse environment is a greater variety of products, services, clients, regions. An integrated environment, you have only one client, one product, and one geographic area. The more diversified the environment, the more the firm needs to use a divisional structure aligned with that diversity. How about hostile versus munificent? Hostile environment, face resource scarcity and more competitive, is dynamic, and it uses organic structure for responsiveness. Munificent, plenty of resources and product demand, and is less needed for organic structure. Organic structure is most appropriate in hostile environments. If hostile environments exist, the organization may need to temporarily centralize so that decisions can be made more quickly and executives are more in control of what's going on. The effects of an organizational size, well, basically, as an organization grows, they have more division of labor, more job specialization, greater use of standardization, more formalization, more hierarchy, more decentralization. Decision making is pushed downward. How does technology relate to structure? Well, technology refers to mechanisms or processes by which an organization turns out its product or service with two contingencies: variability, the number of exceptions to standard procedures that tend to occur, and the analyzation, the predictability or difficulty of the work. So that concludes it for organizational structure. Very dry, but very informative, I hope, for you. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.